My name is Lavinia and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you a tutorial on how to make bowl cozies. If you don't know what bowl cozies are, they're just something that pretty much looks like this, and you just put your bowl in it. And if you make it with 100% cotton thread, fabric, and batting, you can actually microwave this. So let's say you're heating up a bowl of soup or anything else, you put your bowl in here, you put it in the microwave, you heat it up, and then when you go to take it out of the microwave, just grab it like this, and you won't burn your fingers. And I've made these last year at my craft fair, and they were a bestseller. I actually sold every single one that I brought there. I didn't bring many. I think I maybe brought about 14. But what I did was I bought, I think probably about a half a yard or a yard of fabric, and there is a lot of cutting. You can actually use layer cakes, 10-inch, these were made out of 10-inch squares. I haven't finished this one yet, but today I thought I would try it with making it out of this 12.5-inch ruler, a square ruler, because I do have larger bowls, and I wanted to see, and this one fits okay, but we also have these type of deep dish, and we also use it for ice cream, for salads, popcorn. You know, even if it's something is not hot or cold, we still use it. And I wanted to show you when I made it my very first one. So don't be discouraged. It was the first time I tried a sewing project, and this is how it turned out. It did not turn out well at all. However, I use them for my cat dishes. So my cats have bowl cozies. So I put their wet food or dry food in here. And so if you have a dog or something, or you know, a cat, and it doesn't turn out right, or even if it turns out right, use it for them. And so I'm going to go ahead and try and make these out of 12-inch squares. And the batting I'm using is this Wrap and Zap 100% natural cotton batting. It's from Pellon, and it does say that it's perfect for microwavable projects like potato bags, etc. In fact, here on the back, they do have a baked potato zapper, which I do want to try out one of these days. So even if you're using a batting that says 100% cotton, I would recommend making sure it's microwavable safe. And that's only if you are going to put it in the microwave. If you're not, or if you're selling them but you're not using 100% cotton or fabric or batting, I would recommend telling the buyer that it is not microwavable safe, because you wouldn't want you know, a fire to start. But if you're just making it for yourself and you don't want to put it in the microwave, then that's fine. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead. I have 2 layers of the batting here, and I'm just going to cut this. All right. So I'm going to cut these into 12-inch squares, and then I'll show you the fabric that I'm going to use. And you can make these reversible. This one is the same fabric on both sides. However, on this one here, I chose 2 different fabrics, and I just turned them out that way. These are ones that my husband and I use. So this one's my husband. It has footballs on one side and baseballs on the other. And this is the one that I like to use. So we have our own. But again, I want to try making these larger ones. So I will cut this batting and be right back. All right, and these are the fabrics that I have chosen for the bowl cozies. And these are the fabrics that I received from the Fat Quarter Shop, the Zoology for September 2020, their Fat Quarter Modern Bundle subscription. So I'm going to use these 2. So I already cut these out into the 12.5-inch. And what I did with my batting is I went ahead and I made an X on both of them. And now what I'm going to do is pin these. So I'm going to have the X on the bottom, the fabric here on top. I'm going to pin that, and then I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and just stitch straight down each line here. This won't be seen once you have your bowl cozy together, because these are actually going to overlap like this once the bowl cozy's made, and you're not going to see that. But the reason why I did it here, and I'm going to stitch on along this side, is just so that I am able to securely attach this to the fabric and it stays in place. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the sewing machine and do that, pin it, and then stitch it down. All right, so here I'm at the sewing machine, and here is the batting, and I've just, you know, me and my office clips, I clipped the fabric here, and I have my white cotton is what I chose because both fabrics have white in it, and it's 100% cotton, again, so that this is microwavable safe. And I'm just going to go down the diagonal, so I'm going to hold there. Let's see, maybe a little bit over. Okay, and it's just a straight stitch. I think I have it at 2.5 stitch length, and here we go. Now I don't have a walking foot, whoops. However, with this machine, it's the brother, Strong and Tough, so it goes over batting pretty well. Again, I'm just going to go over that line. All right, and you can chain stitch these if you wanted to. I'm just going to trim this off. So for example, I could have just attached the other one and done that and then gone back. But so here's the stitching on here. This is what it looks like on the other side. And now we're just going to go down the other diagonal. And just going to take a couple of stitches here. Just to make sure it doesn't get stuck. Again, I'm not using a walking foot, so here we go. Let's see. Just straight down that line. And that first one's done. And again, this is just to attach the fabric to the batting. So we're done with one. And now here we go with the next one. I remember after doing all these last year, I started on a different project, and all of a sudden I had this knocking sound in my sewing machine, and when I did a little bit of research, they said, you know, maybe to check to see if the machine needed to be cleaned. Well, yeah, after making so many of these, this batting and the lint, I opened up the casing here, and boy, there was a lot of lint. So I definitely recommend, especially, you know, if you're just starting out sewing, and that's just a tip, make sure that you clean out your sewing machine every once in a while. And my machine did not come with a lint brush or a brush to clean the inside, but I just have something that I use for my computer laptop, so, and that works. It's a little nylon brush. Okay. That line just makes it easy to sew your stitches. Okay. So there it is on both sides. can see the stitching. And now the next thing we are going to do is make the darts, and I will show you that. All right, so the next step is making the darts, which is this here, which gives the bow cozy its shape. And for the 10-inch squares, it was measuring here in the center, 2 inches up, and then 1 inch or 2 inches on each side. But you're going to, so for example, when you, the way to do it is actually to fold it over like this, and measuring 2 inches up here, and then 1 inch this way. Or if you have it open, taking your ruler and doing all that. What I did, since I was making so many, is I made this little template here. It's 2 inches long this way and 2 inches this way. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it here at the point, making sure my fabric is all tucked in there. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to take this here at the point, take my, making sure it's flush here, and then just take my Sharpie and draw a line here. I'm going to do that there. I'm going to do that here. Then once I'm done with that, I am going to fold it this way and do the same thing. And once I do that, I will take it to the sewing machine and I will show you what I do next. All right, so what I've done is I've marked off where these darts are going to be. And so I have it clipped here in half, have my dart here, line, and what I'm going to do is backstitch here, come on down the line, backstitch, and then come off. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing. Backstitch here, come on down the line, backstitch, and then come off. So let's see. Just to get that started. And the back stitch will just secure it, and off we go here. Do that. As I mentioned, flipped it over, and just making sure again that the fabric is all the way in there. Flatten it out. Come back here. Back stitch. Back stitch, and there you go. So that's one side. I'm going to turn this over. So as you can see, here starts the shape of the bow cozy, and going to do the opposite. So I'm going to bring these two together, clip it, and just do the darts the same way. All right, so I've clipped this together. You can use pins, of course, other clips that you might have, or if you don't want to and you're comfortable doing it without, by all means, go ahead and do that as well. And back stitch, and come off. Flip it over, make sure that that fabric is all nice and taut. Back stitch, and there you have it. So now the next step is going to be cutting this extra fabric, maybe leaving about 1/4 of an inch. Of course, you don't want to cut through that seam because then, or that stitching, because otherwise it'll ruin that seam there. So that's what I'm going to do next. Grab scissors. And again, just getting rid of some of that bulk. Oh, these are not my fabric scissors. Or you could use rotary cutters. Just close enough to it that you're not cutting through the stitching. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the other square, and then we'll show you the next step where we will be putting the bowl cozy together. All right, so I have finished the darts on both of them, and they are looking pretty good. And I've again cut off that extra bulk, and what I'm going to do now is turn this one inside out and stack it in here, clip it around, match the darts with each other, and then I'll sew around that. So I will show you once I've done that. All right, so I have pinned here at the seams and at the points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here and go around, and the reason why I left this in here is because I want to leave maybe 2-inch or so gap so that I can then turn this inside out. So right now they're pretty sides fabric together, batting on the outside, going to stitch around, and I think I'm going to do a half seam allowance just to make sure that I capture everything including the batting and that everything closes. So I'm going to start sewing this. Okay, so I'm going to use my seam guide here, and again just try and do 1/2-inch seam allowance just to make sure I capture everything. And I am going to back stitch actually several times, I think, because that is going to take some stress when we go to turn it. And taking my pins out as I get to them. With 2 cats, I really don't like using pins because I have carpet in here, and Kyrie likes to sit here while Stormy Weather likes to sit on the floor, and I'm always just afraid that the pin will fall on the floor. Now as I get to where the seams meet, I'm just going to take it slowly. I don't press it open or anything like that, but I am going to, with my needle down, just pivot a little bit. And again, just take it slowly. And then just come around. All right, here's another pin. So I don't know about you, if you have done any craft fairs in the past, but ours here at our clubhouse, our homeowners association, would put on a holiday boutique. But this year, because of the COVID, they went ahead and canceled it. They may do one in the spring. And our craft guild too, they canceled their winter boutique, and they may also have one in the spring. So I was just curious if any of you who are crafters and do craft fairs, have you heard from where you do your crafts already, if they will be holding them, or have they been canceled or postponed? So here I come to this edge here. I'm just going to pivot. And sometimes you just have to manually move it, and there it goes. Take this pin out. Again, I just want to make sure that I put those pins away. Come here to the corner and pivot. Take this one slowly, move it up. Pivot. Sometimes you have to push a little bit to get it going. Again, I'm not using a walking foot. And And so these, I think at my craft fair, I sold for $7. There was just one other crafter who was also selling them, and I think she had them for about the same price, but she also had the 12-inch, I think they were 12-inch or maybe 10, and yeah, I think it was the 12-inch. And I'm not sure if she was selling those maybe for $11 or $12. But she was selling hers too. So here I am going to leave this opening. So I'm just going to back stitch several times. And there we have it. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this inside out. Oh, and one thing you want to do is just clip your corners to avoid bulk. Of course, don't cut in through the seams, but just go ahead and clip these corners so that they won't be as bulky when you turn them. All right, here we go. So I turned it inside out. Here's the opening, which I'm going to top stitch. I'm actually going to give it a pressing first, then give it a top stitch. What I use to poke out the corners is this. It actually came in, I think I bought actually stuffing for pillows, and this came in there, but you can use just something that, you know, a chopstick. I've seen people use scissors, but I would just be afraid if I were to cut the fabric. And before you top stitch, you would want to make sure that there aren't any holes. That's why I did a 1/2 inch seam allowance, just to make sure that everything was caught. So again, I'm going to go ahead and press this, and where the opening is, I'll make sure to press this in as well, and then give it a top stitch, and then we will be done. Okay, I've pressed it, and I have to say, I just love the feel of this fabric. This again is from Zoology, from the Fat Quarter Shop. So I'm going to do a top stitch, and so I've pressed it, as you can see with that 1/2 inch seam allowance, I have quite a fit of fabric in there, so that if I do a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I am sure to capture that and not get any rips or tears. So again, just going to go ahead and top stitch across here. All right, so here we are. It's all done, top stitched, and here's the large bowl, and see how nicely that fits, and this one as well. Now again, you don't have to use it for hot stuff. You can use it for cold stuff, or even just as decoration. So you have a salad bowl, popcorn bowl. Makes nice gifts. So I hope you try this out. I hope you give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching, everyone.